going to have to act if we want to live in a different world.
DDI and the Brotherhood view the benefits and the threats of Tiberium differently. They see a scientific anomaly of curiosity. I see the future.
Reinforcements have arrived.
Hello. I've just had a couple of hours off. And I just got back to have a look to see what Ralph has been up to. We were working on this Sinking Fund Planning Organizer tool app thing for the Anthropic Hackathon. And there was a major-ish change that we wanted to add, which was around... We wanted a settings profile put in, and some end-to-end testing stuff. There was some changes around the Sinking Fund engine, recent completions. Yeah, we made some changes to the specs, and we can see here the last run lasted 2 hours. I think it had been running for about an hour and a half when I thought half an hour when I thought it would have another hour and a half to go, so that was pretty close. Still taking around about 4 minutes per task. So far Ralph has done 10 hours of coding, and I've done Tuesday, Wednesday. Did I do on Thursday and Friday? I think so. And then today I've done 2 hours, and they've been roughly 2 hours each. Pretty sure I've done at least one a day. So I've done about 10 hours of streaming. We've done about 10 hours of Ralph coding autonomously. And given the way the streaming works, I've probably spent about half of that time talking about what I'm doing and half of that time doing what I'm doing. Roughly. So I'm going to estimate that I've spent about 5 hours of development time and 10 hours of autonomous. Ralph has gone off with Claude Code Ralph Boot stuff has gone off and done 10 hours of coding. So let's see where we got to. If we refresh now, we should have there's our settings tab, so I can change my email. Let's just do, I don't know why I'm doing the testing. It probably should have done the testing already. Confirm password. What? Oh, it actually wants my password. That makes sense. I thought it wanted to confirm email address, but I guess requiring a password to change it would work. Email updated successfully. Now the other thing that I did have, let's just open this over here, was we set up Mailtrap. So let's see whether Mailtrap is working in terms of sending emails now. Inboxes. I won't share this on the stream, not because I don't want you to see the emails, but because I've got one shared inbox here for other projects that I'm working on. I just don't want to leak anything, really. There's nothing in yet, but we don't know whether email changes send passwords. It should. We'll look at that. Let's make some more notes. This one here. So email change sends email. Do we want to validate. That'll be trickier because then it's going to have to remember the old email, the new email, and a token, but we don't have to worry about that. Let's see what happens if I sign up with a new account. So we were doing Elton's, and then the other one was called... we've got some sample data you've been playing with Arthur. So I'm going to do Ben plus Arthur at... although that's logging in, let's get rid of that. We're going to sign up. Let's see what happens with the sign up passwords for emails first of all. Let's see if those are getting sent through. I have an email straight away. Can I pop this out? I can't, but what I can do is, I think, if I bring this over here, there we go. So I'll bring that up to that point there. That disappears again, because mech. If I bring that over, you can see the slightly ghosted version of, it's come from me, it's gone to ben+arthur@deckfly.com. Looks good. Welcome to Syncing Fund. Your account has been created. Syncing Fund helps to track. So we're not doing email validation. Obviously, we spoke to Claude and we said, is that worth it? And Claude agreed with us that it probably wasn't. The reason why we don't think it is, well, the reason why I didn't think it was, is because we're not sending regular emails. We're not like, there's no danger of becoming a spammer. We send a welcome, and we will send an email if we've forgotten the password. So let's have a look to see what happens with upload statements now. We were having problems with the PDFs before. So let's have a look to see if the PDFs are supported now. You can only select one at a time. Whereas in the main input we can do multi-selection, multi-file. So we've got our app running here. We can see, actually I wanted to show you that other tab. That was good. We had a look at it. I suppose this tells you here as well. So it took 32 iterations for us to do the last amount of work. If we come back into Claude now, 82%, we're getting close. I've got 21-ish hours until it resets. Hopefully I don't run out before we finish the app today, because I want to finish it today. What was I going to do? Oh yeah, we want we support multi-file upload in the import tab. Need to support in the onboarding experience too. So let's just put in one for now. Internal server error. We're getting internal server error for PDF uploads. So I'll add these later. Current fund balance. Let's say we've got $1,000 in this kitty on the side already, and I can't remember what he makes. We can change these later already, but let's say I can currently donate up to $500 per pay cycle. Actually, per cycle. Contribution cycle in days. How often do you get paid? 714. For this part here, in the onboarding, trying to work out, I've stopped to think, trying to work out if I want to start putting these tasks into an ad hoc markdown file so that it's not got all of this stuff in context, but it can work on one thing at a time, and I think I'm going to do that. So at this point here, we've got our implementation plan. I'm going to create a new file here called ad hoc tasks. Ad hoc tasks. And onboarding. In fact, I'm just going to put in ad hoc tasks. Take a look at the tasks below. and pick one and only one. Move it into the in process queue and work on it. In process, back tasks. Take a look at the backlog of tasks below. So within process, and then we've got the backlog here, and I'm just going to say this appears in the onboarding. We should probably be offering the 1 week, fortnightly, twice monthly, etc. options, or irregular, or whatever we're calling it. Alright, there's one task I wanted to look at. Update. Once a task is completed, move it to the completed section. Keep notes on what you've done and how, what you've done, what worked, what didn't, etc. in case you need to start this process over again on an existing task. Also helps me see what you did. And then we'll got in progress at the top, backlog there, and we'll put completed at the bottom. So, I've not tried this kind of thing before. This is basically like a Ralph loop, but just manually Ralph looping it. So, currently it's working on internal, well, either the upload or the internal server for PDF uploads. And this way, what I should be able to do is study at, oops, it's asking me a question. It wants to go in there and do some PDF parsing testing stuff. Sure. I'm just thinking what I'm probably going to do is tasks.md is I'm probably just going to copy and paste the instructions. In fact, I probably wanted these to be second level headings as well. Instructions, I take a look at the backlog of tasks below and pick one and only one, move it into the do the work, update any specs and other documentation related to this ad hoc work, and ensure the implementation plan reflects that this has been done. In fact, I don't want to do that. Do the work, run tests, and when complete, move it into the process queue. Nope, I want to move it into the process. Okay, let's just paste that in there. Take a look at the backlog of tests below. Pick one and only one. Do the work, run the tests. Okay, so move it into the in-process queue, and do the work, run the tests, and when complete, move it to the completed section. When complete, we will then want to update any specs and other documentation related to this ad hoc work, ensure the implementation plan reflects that this work has been done, and move the task to the completed section. We want to do that in this point here, so move it to the in-process queue, do the work, run tests, and when complete, run tests, etc. Keep notes on what you've done and what worked. When complete, there we go, that's kind of in order there. And then I can take a look at the backlog of tasks below. So now, technically what I can do, is this finished yet? It's still going. Is I will say, follow the instructions in ad hoc tasks. Why is it in dot dot? Why are we in the... Did I start this in the web directory? I did. That's right, I'll finish this process and then I'll exit and I'll go back into the correct directory. Let me just copy this. Oh. Just so I don't accidentally hit enter on that. The error was the PDF.js dist used internally by PDFparse can't find its worker file when bundled by Next.js. The fix is to mark it as a server external package so Next.js doesn't try to bundle it. Okay. Fair enough. Okay, phone call from somebody in Australia. On my Australian number, which will cost me like $10 an hour to answer, so I'm not going to answer that. If you happen to be calling me from Australia, call me on my other number. Looks like we're ready to test something. I might just set my system on Do Not Disturb mode. There we go. Let me address the original request by adding multi-file upload to onboarding. Let me read the onboarding upload page. Sure, why not? We can always create another account and check this later. I'm going to try changing the symbol to a £. Contribution must be a positive number. Current fund. Alright. So now we can come into import. Let's see what happens when we select all the PDFs. It's uploading them. Am I getting ahead of myself? Did it fix? I think it fixed the PDF stuff, and now we're looking at the onboarding. Oh, there. It's taken quite a while to upload. How big are they? Where are we looking? Over here. Info. Maybe I'll have a look at it in Finder. There are only 4 others CSVs. There are only 7K. I wonder what it's doing when it uploads them. That seems like a lot of time to upload 12 PDFs. Unless it uploads and then processes, etc. Let's make a note of that. Uploading 12 PDFs takes a long time. Is it processing each in between? If so, we should probably make a note of that so people don't get confused as to why it's taking so long. uploading file 6, but I'm pretty sure that's a full. Also, we got to file 6 of 12, and the progress bar was at 100%. Pretty sure it's up to there. When it gets up to file 8, I'm sure that bar's not going to move. There we go. Question is, though, is it actually processing? If I open transactions in another tab, we are getting a lot of records in there. This guy, this is funny because the CVS fake person we created, Elton, lives in London, so has pounds. This guy, I think we said lives in Boise, and we put pound signs in. So let's come in and change. Oh, it's got some presets. That's kind of nice. We should probably... Contribution cycle is... I think we should probably not ask for contribution cycle at the beginning, during onboarding. Maybe we should. But we should give this option. I wonder what it'll do. Added multiple attributes to the file, replaced... Did this... Did I ask about that? I can't remember where I asked about it now. Or did I put it in here? Yes. So we should have a similar, if not the same component as on settings. Settings. Same for currency symbol. Defaults. It'll use the same defaults. So we'll have auto detect, and then presumably it'll default to $, which is fine. And then what else do we have? Maximum contribution per cycle. Optional cap on how much to set aside. I don't know whether that's the kind of thing we want during onboarding, but I'm going to leave it there for now. It might be better experience later once we've got data for it to say you need to contribute this per month, and then I can click on a button saying I need to reduce this amount, give me another strategy. Also, how useful is a cap? Like if you cap the amount that you're contributing per month, and let's say your fund is fully funded, although I guess the question is how much more can you put in if your fund isn't fully funded for you to be able to get to a fully funded fund? How much would wood chop if a wood chop could chop wood? All right. Follow instructions in... Oh no, I was going to exit out. I am in Budget Tracker, not in Web. So what happened there? And now when I start, I'm in Budget Tracker. Okay. I wonder whether Claude changed directory, and then it got confused. Yeah, we're in Web now. What if that's new? Because I don't know that in the past I've been able to change the context of the directory I'm in. But okay. I want you to follow the instructions in ad hoc tasks. Let's see if this works. In fact, one thing I want to do is, can I do this while it's doing it? So I was just thinking to myself, I can't now add things into ad hoc tasks. Because if I hit save, then it might lose something that is just saved. So I don't know how good this is for me. I want to create a backlog of tasks that it can do. Anyway, we're in the final stretches of getting this working, so I'm just going to focus on getting this working. Let's import to the transactions finish. We got 411, but we didn't detect any income. It's probably going to be in the suggestions. So, high confidence, Chevron Fairview. We're paying approximately $44.26 every month for something at Chevron. I don't know. I don't think so. We're not going to do that. We're not going to do Dutch Bros. We're going to do T-Mobile. We're going to do financial services. Water, yes. Direct deposit, yes. Internet, yes. Hulu, yes. Insurance. Property management. Don't know what that's about. Let's go no. It doesn't really matter overly. One thing I do want to find is, can I get his pay? His pay is not a high confidence item. Form and function coffee. Power, yes. Drive-in, no. Breakfast. Reptar Supply Co. That's right, this guy, he pays on average $47.52 every 3 months for Reptile Supplies, because he has a snake. Because, of course, I thought that would be a sensible thing to add in there. Maybe I could have added that in as a... Yeah, I suppose I have a sinking fund for my dog, so maybe I should have added that in. We could just go in and re-import the transactions and it would appear again, because we dismissed it. I wonder whether there's an idea to have a dismissed suggestions. But, you know. For another time. Gas, no. Coffee, no. Donuts, no. Steakhouse, no. Vet clinic. Let's say yes. Because I would have a sinking fund for that kind of thing. Walmart, no. Yeah. Food. Thingies. Don't know what that is. Ale house. I think I need a sinking fund for my beer. Gas. Auto pay. Venmo payment received. Regularly receives payment, but of course there's no information in there, so there's no point in modeling that one. That's probably groceries. It's quite a range. But no, we'll go no. In fact, unless there's something that overly looks like something I should be inventorying, no. ATM withdrawal doesn't make sense. Trader Joe's, perhaps. I'm going to go no on all of these. Now, interestingly enough, we didn't... Oh, we did detect. That's right, he works for a coffee shop. Gets paid twice monthly. There's another lookup error there. We saw that earlier this morning. That should be used in the label. So... Yes, you can make changes. What does it say here? It's taking a long time. It's processing each in between. Notes. Progress bar was hard-coded with 100% width. That's great. Files are uploaded and processed sequentially one at a time, which is why PDFs take a while. That's okay. So, what did it change? It moved the upload... Oh, so it's just put it in process now. So that makes sense. I feel like this might be slower than just having an ad hoc conversation. I also want to make sure that I'm not getting into a position where I'm rapidly running out of my usage. Am I enjoying Claude Usage Tracker? Sure, it's useful. I wonder whether I should create an admin page so I can go in, I can delete users for testing purposes. Probably a bit of overkill for this. I can probably just ask Claude to delete the user for me, and Claude can go into the database and pull it out, and if the database is set up correctly, which it should be, we will have cascading effects. So if we delete a user, then all the other data should disappear as well. That's a pre-existing error. I keep getting these. And I go, well, we shouldn't be getting pre-existing errors. Which maybe having this ad hoc plan that tells it to do testing and all those things will reduce. Because if I'm just conversationally asking Claude to change things, why is this still asking me about It wants to delete that line, and then... Has it asked me? It hasn't asked me. But it's still allowing me to approve it. It says uploading and processing, so it looks like... No, that's what we... Oh, the file length is greater than that. Whereas before, it's just added the word processing. No, it's changed. Why is it even asking me? You should be... Unless it's this one. I should just be doing it. It feels like this wants to undo it. There's a whole lot of extra stuff in here where it's actually moving because before it was 100%. I'm going to ignore that. I think that was just accidentally opened somehow. Maybe I clicked on something over here and it opened it. Anyway, so we now have, if we open our ad hoc tasks again, we've got this one completed. Okay, cool. So now if I just call this again, it should do the next one. We want to put a note in about this being twice monthly. So add, maybe this works, add an ad hoc task to ad hoc tasks. Income sources that arrive twice monthly have a label of twice monthly instead of the friendly text of twice monthly, because that is in a configuration somewhere. So we now have this one still in backlog. Hopefully that's going to get moved into in progress, and then we'll also have this one added in, which will hopefully not get lost. Income sources arrive twice monthly. Okay, so it's added that in, but we also have this one in progress, which is correct. We've got notes for this one. Okay, cool. So this might actually work. We've kind of got a queue that we can add things to that Claude will carry on looking at. I could even set up a Ralph loop that looks at... you know what I could do? I could have just added them into implementation plan. Downside is we're not getting them to the specs. And Ralph loop will stop if there's nothing else in the implementation plan. Something I'm just percolating and thinking about, making the processes smoother, but doesn't really affect us in terms of this project. Let's see, if I... come back to the dashboard. So we need $120.31 in for the next Boise Exotic Vet Clinic. That's the next action. I feel like the main action we have is that as soon we've got $1,000, so as soon as we get to approximately here, these will all get covered by the $1,000 I've got, even though it says unfunded. They all come out on the 15th of March. Interesting. Do they all say 15th of March? They do. Even though when we saw them in suggestions or from the transactions, we should see that they come out on different days of the month. So, add a task to ad hoc when suggested obligations and incomes are added to the system. They are added with today's date as the... Is it today's date? It is today's date. Yeah. Today's date as the due date, not the calculated, inferred, extrapolated due date based on historic recurrence data. For example, if it's monthly on the 21st, then it should come out on the next 21st. If the calculation shows it comes out every 7 weeks and it last came out 3 weeks ago, the next is in 4 weeks, and then every 7 weeks from there. So now on income we should have twice monthly. Why is that not done? Also added the twice monthly label to the backlog as requested. Okay, so now we just want to follow those instructions, do the next one. Nothing in progress. Income sources. Yep, got that one added in. So it's completed these. Cool. What else do we need to fix? I did notice on the dashboard the alignment of the upcoming obligations pricing didn't look right. Add to ad hoc tasks. The prices or the amounts in the upcoming obligations on the dashboard are not aligned correctly. Oh, do I want to allow grepping something? Sure. The amounts in the, what was it, upcoming obligations on the dashboard are not aligned correctly. I still don't understand what's happening with next action. There's the catch up. No. I don't understand what's going on with next action on the dashboard. I thought we would need to know how much to contribute every pay cycle in order to pay all our monthly and future looking obligations. Let's see if it can explain to us what's going on under the hood. Because it's specifically calling out an error. Nudge cards. Sometimes it doesn't get saved properly. It's specifically calling out setting aside $120 for Boise Exotic Vet Clinic, which isn't even showing up in here. And yet, if we look in our obligations, we'll probably find it. Boise Exotic Vet Clinic, $120.31. It's due today, like everything else. But why isn't that showing up in the dashboard then? If it's due today. That's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Is it limiting it to just 10? Or VPN wants to update? Sure. No, not while I'm streaming. It's probably a bad idea. Okay, we can see all of this. So these dots should always be aligned, at the very least. Either we're consistently in debt or we're consistently in the black, but we should not have it coming down like that. Here's what I found out about the dashboard next action. Current behavior shows the contribution needed for the single most urgent underfunded obligation. What you expected, a total showing how much to contribute each pay cycle to cover all obligations, i.e. the aggregate amount needed to stay on track across everything. Yes. The engine already computes total contributions per cycle, but the snapshot dashboard never surfaces it, only the single most. Right. Would you like me to add this as a task to the ad hoc tasks backlog? Something like dashboard should show the total contribution needed per pay cycle to cover all obligations. Yes, do that. And another task for show how much lump sum is required to pre-fund the sinking fund appropriately. Razzmatazing. So we now have that one there. Yep. Okay, cool. So now what I can do is I can come back in here and say follow instructions and do another one. Meanwhile, if we look in, what did it just complete? It just completed the 12 PDFs. Onboarding should probably offer this. Income sources that arrive twice monthly have a label of twice monthly instead of friendly text. So why does it still say twice monthly? Obligations are monthly. I'm pretty sure not all of... Oh, there we go. We do have an irregular. It says recurring. It doesn't tell us. If we edit this, we can see that it happens weekly. Alright, so let's be specific about this one and have a conversation with it. Have a look at the Boise Exotic Vet Clinic obligation. In the interface, it says in the edit modal it's listed as weekly. When we looked at the transactions in the suggestions tab, it was something longer. It's like every 3 months or something. I think there were 4 of them. In fact, we can have a look in transactions and we can find exotic, nothing on that page. So there was one in November, October, November, October 15th, then November 1st. Not there. August, June, July, August, September, October, roughly every 6, I think it might have been on average every 7 weeks. That kind of rings a bell. About every 7 weeks. Does the underlying engine calculate based on 7 weeks or the precise average? How can we show this in the edit interface? Is it stored correctly in the database? Is one question, because if it isn't in the database properly, then how can we show it in the edit interface? And also, can we display this instead of irregular in the pill that shows in the list card? Hopefully it understands what I mean by that. I'm talking about this, I guess it's not a pill. This part here where it says monthly. Irregular. What's just done? Man, some upcoming obligations are not aligned correctly. So what's it saying on the dashboard now? Okay, that's the alignment. Cool. So this probably comes down to a lack of proper specifications. And if I want to find a get out clause for me, I would say that it's probably tricky to define sufficiently how flexible this system needs to be. But I feel also like Claude and I had a pretty in-depth conversation about potential outcomes, and it understood the idea of irregular. The problem chain, the pattern detection, maps median intervals to frequency enums with these ranges. Okay, well that's... I think if that's the pattern we're detecting, if that's a label, sure, I'm okay with that. The 49-day interval every 7 weeks falls in the gap between 38 and quarterly, so it becomes irregular. Suggestion acceptance passes the frequency straight through. Body frequency or detector frequency. Sure. No frequency days is ever set because the detector doesn't compute one, and the suggestion model doesn't even have frequency days field. The obligation is created with frequency irregular and frequency days null. The edit form initializes the frequency state with a default of monthly, but regular is not in the frequency options, which only has weekly, fortnightly, monthly, quarterly, annual, and custom. So when the obligation loads with frequency irregular, the selector's default to a list card pulls to irregular via the frequency labels. The engine treats irregular frequency as null days, meaning it can't schedule future occurrences. Well, that's a big problem, isn't it? To answer your question, does the engine calculate on 7 weeks? No. The right fix. The pattern detector should use custom with a frequency days value instead of irregular when it detects a consistent interval that doesn't match standard ranges. Irregular should be reserved for truly erratic patterns, high variance in intervals. This would store the actual interval, 49 days, in the database, display as every 49 days in the list pill and form, let the engine schedule future occurrences correctly. Do you want me to add this as a task? I think that covers it all. So we actually know how often it happens, the actual interval. Yes, but also remember that we need to calculate the next date as being the interval from the last transaction. Also, from a display perspective, I would like the UI to show. So I'm thinking in terms of days, like instead of showing 49 days, that would be exactly 7 weeks. So I would want to show 7 weeks. If it was 6.5 weeks or 6 weeks and 3 days, then it would be 6W3. But I think like 10 days is fine. So maybe if it's less than 14 days, then you show the number of days to show. If days is less than 14, then n days. Else n, what was it proposing? The actual full word days. Every 49 days. Every 49 days, else every 3 weeks and 2 days. I don't know. Is that too wordy now? No, okay. So if days is a multiple of 7, then n weeks. If it's really truly a mean as opposed to regular, if it's truly irregular but with an average of say 4 weeks and 2 days, then round to 4 weeks. If it's truly every 6 weeks and 2 days, then maybe just show number of days, because now it's quite specific. Does that make sense? What are good ways to make this readable and accurate? Meanwhile, it's done another one. Completed. Amount to the upcoming obligation on dashboard. Okay, the alignment we'd already done. So let's also separately start a sub-agent to follow the instructions in there. Let me think through the display logic. For intervals that don't match standard frequencies, here's what I suggest. Exact multiples of 7 turn to weeks. Within 1 day of a week multiple, approximately. Okay, yeah, I like that. About every 7 weeks. Everything else, every n days. Sure. Does that feel right? Or do you want the tolerance wider? 2 days. It is good. I hadn't thought about the background agent to start with. We can always go in and have a look to see what it's doing. Meanwhile, we can carry on conversations up here. So we can have conceptual conversations and then add things into a task list. Keep the background agent going. We've added that in. What else do we want to have a look at? Presumably it's going to work on this one at some point. Did we not already have that? The weekly. We fixed that down here somewhere, I'm sure. Let's just ask. I still see in the income list. I thought we fixed that. Also, I think this one was supposed to move around. Yeah, we can move that around. That's cool. So we can always keep it out of the way, but it'll also stay open, I believe. And I should be able to ask the questions. How often do I pay for mobile phone subscription? Good English. Can I work that out? Pay for T-Mobile monthly at $55. The next payment is due on this date. That's pretty cool. Did we fix the day of month issue? Okay, it's making more changes here. So now obligations paid is broken. So now we've got, did we have a twice monthly in this list? We've got irregular, but we do have a twice monthly here under income, and now it says twice monthly. That's nicer. All the tests are passing. What else do we need? We probably need to I did notice actually, here's one thing we can do, is we can delete the account. and then we can sign up again as Arthur. That'll do. And we can do manual entry. Skip. Skip. Can I skip that? I can't. Contribution amount. Current fund is 0. Maximum is 0. Contribution cycle. Alright. Must be greater than 0. Maximum contribution. I put in 500 every 2 months or something. And now I can import the PDFs again. That bar still hasn't fixed. The progress bar for uploading multiple files is still fixed at 100%. So I'm now wondering whether that confusion that I had of one of the files that was partially open, whether I read the diff the wrong way around and I actually undid these changes. I guess. That's fun. So I'm presuming that now killed the import. Code looks correct. It uses upload progress percent state, not hardcode 100%. See the problem. The last file completed set said equal to the real issues of the single file 116 sets. Oh, line 116 sets the value to 0 at the start, and then it sets to 100 when done. The bar jumps from 0 to 100 immediately. It's never visible at an intermediate state for single files. You said multiple files are still 100%. The issue is that line sets 100% after the first file finishes. So it should be a percentage of, oh no. If there are 12 files, it sets it to 8%, that's fine. Wait. Actually, the logic seems correct for multiple files. File 1 starts at 0, finishes at 8. File 2 starts at 8, finishes at 17. Sure. Changes might not have been deployed. It could be a caching issue. It's happened a couple of times. So, yeah, it looks like it wants to have a look at this file here. Let's clear all caches and restart the web server. Now, let's go down. I don't think there's anything else open at the moment. I think the background task finished. Not quite sure why. I was thinking like maybe something's working on the ad hoc tasks, but if we look at what's in progress, we do have something in progress. Let's see if this breaks it. Okay, so we do have progress here on the ad hoc tasks thing. It's updating it. It looks like we might be okay. Web container restarted. Still not doing what I would expect. So let's see what's going on here. Search pattern, implementation plan. It's updating the implementation plan with what it just did, I assume, and then hopefully it'll finish. What's it purporting to have changed? Display the total configuration contribution needed per pay cycle. That's nice, because that's one of the main things that this is supposed to do. I have been forgetting to commit my files to Git again, so there's that. Running some tests, I guess. Yeah, npm test. HTML completed, compacting conversation. Alright, so where does, while this is happening, stop and restart it ourselves? Then also empty all caches again. So I want to do a dev down and then restart it. Taking a while to come back there. Hey. No. I think it's just next. Oh, okay, says the build modules cache, I guess. I don't know if that's actually going to make much of a difference. So now we can restart, inject our secrets, and give this a try. I didn't clear, did I? No. So what I also want to do at this point is commit changes in logical steps. I was going to say commits, but committing in commits is, I don't know, maybe I've got a fear of commitment. Anyway, back to here. Import all. Still goes straight to 100%. Alright, let's finish the commit and then we will ask more about that. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't really care at the moment. It's superficial. What's the word I'm looking for? Not important. So, I just want to get some data in. Let me open this in another tab. So we're getting these through now. So what I wanted to test, that's right, is let's go for some suggestions. Obviously haven't processed those just yet. We don't, because we created a brand new account. Our transactions are coming in. We've got 5 pages. Is that done? Probably doesn't have any suggestions yet because it needs consistency to. Why is it not going beyond 5 pages? We're working on statement 4. Do we have any suggestions yet? I wonder whether it's died. Let's see if we can get up to statement 5. Meanwhile, I heard a ding. Doop. Progress bar was hard-coded 100% width. Oh yeah, this is the Git stuff. Oh, almost refresh that page. Uploading 6. So we should start getting some, unless it's processing the PDF, but then it's not actually going to do the suggestions until it's done all the imports. So let's give it another 5 file upload periods of time, whatever that looks like. That's the hero card for the display. I'm looking forward to this showing more than the next thing we need to fix Ralph, grep exit codes, and add PD. I don't know why those two are related, but not overly opposed to the idea for the sake of brevity. We are... Where did the import go? I moved away from the import page, didn't I? So let's import. I know we got up to... Let's assume we did it in this order here. We were doing the last 5. We can see in here we've got October. We don't have January. So yes, it was doing alphabetically, not chronologically, which is fine. Did I just do it again? Oh, crikey. Either that or it's actually failing. Alright. Don't touch anything, Ben. Just let it finish. Do I want to add ad hoc task track? Oh, that's just Git again. Alright, we are at no changes. I can probably do a push. Get Railway to do another deployment for what it's worth at the moment. Uploading file 2. What I would like to do is have it upload all the files in one go and then do the processing in the background as a worker. That means that I can carry on, like, it'll process even if I change to another page. It's currently doing that for suggestions. We have the concept of a worker. Let's ask Claude about this. Let's go into plan mode. We already use background workers. Right? What if we upload all files in one go to let the browser go again and then start the PDF parsing in the background? We could do the same for other file types, same order of operations for other file types. 2 for consistency. Consistency. Let me know what you think of that. So we've imported, we've got 74 more things in here. We've got our transactions. If we hit refresh, we've now got suggestions. So I want to add to ad hoc tasks. No, I don't at the moment. So now we see that we have a... This one here comes in twice monthly. It comes in on the 14th and the 28th. 13th, 27th, 14th, 28th. I wonder what it'll do if we accept this. And then have a look at the income. It's twice monthly. It doesn't have an next expected date. We need to store. It's very unlikely that we're going to have like twice monthly on the 10th and the 28th. It's usually going to be the 14th and the 30th, the last-ish. Probably won't have like the 5th and the 20th. But if we're going to have it every... Okay. Thinking out loud. Let's accept this one. Let's have a look at that. The next one is due 15th of February. I didn't actually check to see when it was due. So this one is due on the 15th-ish. This one's due on the 15th-ish. Can I get something earlier in the month, please? Ah, didn't mean to do that. This one's on the near the beginning of the month. Okay, so if we accept Spotify, and we have a look at our obligations, the next one is due on the 15th. So that's still not working. Is that in the backlog? completed. It's not in the... Is it... I guess that's about to be done. So maybe we'll wait until that happens and then we can retest it. Yeah, let's see what's happening over here. In fact, because we're having a conversation over here, I'm going to get it to do another start a sub-agent and do some ad hoc tasks. I notice I'm still looking at... I'm sure I can find it. I don't think I'm in... Yeah, I'm in the budget directory. Everything is synchronous. PDF parsing happens during... Let me design the plan. Does the suggestion finding also happen during the request? That would be good to run in a worker. Also, make sure this will work on Railway if deployed as is without extra Railway hosting setup changes. Do I want to find out more information? Yes. You can always use Contact 7, you don't have to ask me. Which one did I choose? The next one on the list. Excellent. So we're working on that. Oh no, it's still in the backlog. I thought it was moved up to progress. Come on. How are we doing up here? Still 84-ish. I think it might have been 82, 83 before. We should be okay. I mean, the weekly thing limit is pretty decent. Has it started the subagent yet? Doesn't look like it. Pattern detection is CPU only, no AI calls, just statistical analysis of transaction intervals and amounts. It's fast, but it's fast, but in the onboarding flow, it runs synchronously during the request. In the import page, it's already fire and forget. Either way, it should be part of the background batch processing. After works on Railway because Railway runs long-lived Node.js containers. The process stays alive. No Redis. Let me write the plan. So in the import page, it's already fire and forget. If by fire and forget, I assume it means runs in the background. Maybe it's not using a worker. Maybe it's just running a background node task, which is kind of like a worker, I guess. What does it want to propose? Crikey. Uploading multiple bank statements blocks the user goal, upload the files. No background workers exist today. We use Next.js's after, available in v16, to run processing after the HTTP response. Status tracked in Postgres via Prisma model. Sure. So, new models. It's not really telling me what the differences there are. I guess we are tracking this. This is the new stuff, and we're going to be tracking the import files that way. We're going to have an API import batch, an API import batch, and then batch ID. Going to have a new batch processor, and a client hook to start it. I think I'm happy with this. It'll then do the migration, do a TypeScript check, run some tests, and then we can upload some files and check it out. Sure, let's give that a try. This is now going to... Is ad hoc doing anything? I still don't know if that background... Actually, I can shift up. There's no background process running at the moment. So this is going to be going and doing its stuff. It's probably only going to take a couple of minutes. One of the things I really love is that currently when Claude comes back to you with estimates, it says this sounds like a fairly major change to the code. It could be a couple of days' work. And I think it's basing those estimates based on the LLM is basically trained on data, and that data shows that it used to take a couple of days to do that kind of work. But LLMs are doing it much faster. So oftentimes I'll giggle to myself because it will say something like it's going to take a couple of days, or this could be weeks of work. And I say, well, let's get started. And then like 10 minutes later, it's done. It's quite funny. I find it funny anyway. Music stopped. Why did the music stop? Come here, music. Don't be like that. There we go. All right. Adding some status monitoring stuff. Right, got some tests in. API endpoint, I guess. I think I saw an API something just now. Or was that my imagination? Well, we've got some tests for the API. Do you want to make a test directory? Sure.
Miss American Angel, you put your faith in me. Miss American Beauty, I'd wait my life to see. And when you come back, will you remember me?
So it's created the batch endpoint processor. It's done the database stuff. We are putting in a hook. And then we need to upgrade the onboard, migrate the onboarding of page. Okay. Oh, we did have an issue earlier as well that some tests were failing. So we should remember to get around to doing a full test suite run again. Nearly there. 2 more tasks. And then these. Was it really doing everything? Oh no, that's just the percentage bar thing. We are now I guess we'll see. Is the percentage bar gone because the file upload will be pretty fast? Or have we moved it somewhere else? Now we just say upload your files. And then processing. I guess. Does that mean we can come away from the page and go back and see where we're up to? That'd be cool. Completing some tests. It did say it was going to put these suggestions on the homepage. So do we want to... That'll take me to the suggestions page. I don't think that's very useful. Don't know what's happening on this side here. I might leave that for now and maybe we'll get it to move these as a list of we found potential things. Click here. Have a single button to say look at all suggestions. We do now have regular contributions keeping us steady. Now we are consistently going to drop down to like minus $65 or something. But we do have contributions coming in based on contributions of $33 per fortnight. What are our obligations? I guess, yeah, 60, 70, $35. That could actually be correct. Most urgent, we need to set this side for the next one to come along. $66.99. So if I can add $66.99 to that account, I preview that. Total allocated $66.99. I did say I had $0 in there, so if I confirm that, now if I refresh, well, that's probably not correct. Although, let's see, what am I contributing? So if I'm contributing, that's just a maximum. I'm fully covered, but like I need to be told that I'm putting in another $69 every month, every pay cycle. We'll get back to that. What is going on over here? We've got some test fails, compacting conversation. All right. So that's the fund health ungrouped. So some things I still want to do are add to ad hoc. We need to have specified already. The specs talk about grouping things together for to represent one or more sinking funds. How has this been implemented? In fact, I'm not going to add that as a task, I'm going to find out. But first thing, time to start keeping notes, because otherwise I'm going to forget, because that's how my brain works, or rather doesn't work. Let's make this a bit bigger again. I'm going to add that there. Apparently this is now done. So now, if I delete the account again, oops, that's not what I meant to do, and plus a at decry.com. Let's come in here and we're going to delete the account so that we can do the import again and see how that works. Let's upload statements, and I should be able to select multiples now. Internal server error. We had that before. Why are you doing it again? And why did a test not show that? I guess we're not. Why do we not have a test to test the file upload? The error is clear. Why didn't you see it before then? Generate client is in here. We did have some extra errors that I said I needed to check, but all of the tests for this particular feature should have, I mean, they did pass. That'll be the file upload errors, I guess. That's running again. No. Create a proper test for this and run it.
Headed for greatness. I'm the type of dude who could really make changes, cause I'm the type of dude that's becoming contagious. I'm the type of dude that will always be ageless.
Problem with testing against an actual database, of course, is then you get extra cruft in the database. The real bug is the Prisma client not being regenerated in the dev server, but the user's question is valid. We should have tests to verify the Prisma model access works. All root tests in this project mock into Prisma, so they can't catch a model that doesn't exist but view it. The existing suggestion model tests follow a pattern of importing a generated Prisma types and enums and verifying the schema shape. This catches missing Prisma generator at test time. Write a similar test for the import batch model, which would have caught the bug. Okay. Let's commit this so far. Yep. Run a full test suite. Typing ain't my strong point. That's why I get AI to code for me. I don't know how true that is. Oh, I've been slouching for a bit now. I need to look after my back. Pre-existing, not related to the batch upload word. I don't care. Fix all bugs. Do it. Probably just capitalization, right? Because it's got... Yep. Because we changed from the system names to friendly labels. So now they should run all passes. Are you going to commit? Alright, so I made a note over here. We wanted to have a chat about the specs group. So let's commit this, start a new context. So that's uploading. Now it's processing. So it should take me on to the next stage of onboarding. I'll skip uploading because that's now going in the background. We need to fix that though. Add to ad hoc. During onboarding, I upload lots of PDFs. That happens right away. Then we process in the background. I should go to the next step in the onboarding, not wait for processing. %84 still. Mostly because it's just ad hoc conversation now rather than Ralph going away and doing constant API usage. Here's how fund groups syncing words have been implemented. A fund group model in Prisma with a one-to-many relationship to obligation. The fund group ID on obligations is nullable, which means ungrouped, which is the default. No hard-coded default group in the database. Key design decision. Groups are purely organizational. Groups don't affect calculations at all. Engine calculates fund balances, contributions, shortfalls per obligation independently. Obligation form drop down to assign. So when I edit an obligation, maybe? We've got our transactions. Do we have any suggestions yet? No, because that's still running in the background. Presumably we're still getting... Did it finish doing the importing, do you think? We have 4 pages. Oh, we've got 5. Yeah, it's still going in the background. But the suggestions aren't running. So we can add an obligation, and then in here next due date, start date and next due date. It's interesting. Record contribution and just balance. The obligation form drop down to assign reassign fund to a group when creating or editing an obligation is not there. There is no drop down for fund group in the obligation edit modal. I think we should have a default fund called my thinking fund that all new obligations are added to. We then need to be able to manage funds in the settings area, but not delete any that unless we keep going with null is the default. Okay, I think we should call the null fund the default sinking fund that all new negotiators are added to. They need to be able to manage funds in the settings area, CRUD. Default null doesn't exist, but is shown in the list as non-deletable. Deleting a fund that has obligations associated with it will result in the obligations moving to default fund. Does that make sense? I mean, it makes sense. Is that the right thing to do? I think I'm giving too much implementation. There's no drop-down fund for group in the obligations edit modal. I think all obligations should be shown in a default sinking fund that all the obligations are added to. They need to be able to manage funds in the settings area. Default cannot be deleted, but it can be renamed. Deleting any other fund that has obligations. No, I don't like that anymore. I want to say can't delete a fund if it has obligations. List of obligations can be filtered by fund, can let's just start with that for now. I'm trying to think of how to move them around afterwards, currently it's suggesting that maybe you can edit this and then move it into another fund. I wonder whether you can just have like the fund shown in the top right hand. Yes, fund is shown in top right of card in obligations page, and clicking gives options to move to another fund. Definitely moved very much from a deep specifications mode to an ad hoc development mode, but part of me is enjoying the process of just tweaking it a little bit. I think most of the functionality is working. Hey, buddy. Gentlemen. Hi. Do you want to come here? Okay. Can people see your face? Here's my puppy. Hi. You're on video. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Hi. Did you enjoy your dinner? Yeah. That's all I got for you. You can hang out if you want to. We are now in plan mode. How obligations are created. Here's an idea. If we have a list of funds, then as we find new suggestions, maybe like a future upgrade, it could have a look at the fund names, or maybe even the things that are in the fund, and say this probably most likely fits into this fund here. So if down the line suddenly I've got a new subscription, and say, well, this should go into your subscriptions fund. That's a cool automation of some sort. Do we have any suggestions? We do have suggestions now, 46 of them. Did I want to test anything? Let's put in our... Can we search by income? There's an income in here somewhere. So we're going to... Oh, not the Venmo. We're going to do our... salary. Water, T-Mobile. We don't want these. We want some of these here. Property management. Power. That'll do for now. So we've got some income. We've got some financial services. Some obligations. Shows us how much of it we've saved. How correct is this? So we have $1 somewhere. Because we have $1 in our bank account. Unless I have to record a contribution, which I'm not sure what this is about, because I never... I've got $10 set aside for one thing over there. Partially funded. Okay, I think I understand what the funded for is now. We don't care about funding... because it has a fund per... Yeah, this is where the grouping is going to be interesting. But also the other thing I want to look at is the dates. This still says 15th. The only one that's different is this one because I installed that one, created that one manually. Yeah. It's misunderstood some. Well, I don't know how. So the fund needs to be funded, but they are all individual funds. So we don't want to actually show this fund. What we want is for each fund group to show the totals. Okay, that makes sense. I see each fund's funding status is shown. and these are one-to-one with an obligation. We need to show aggregate funding status per fund group and treat the fund group as the fund in the UI. I will never care if one obligation is partially funded. I need to know what it takes to get the whole fund funded and what I need to add per month to keep it in the black. Let's not accept that just yet. We're going to add to this plan. I need to add how much I need to add per month to keep it in the black. Any indication of how funded a fund is in percentage would be for the UI fund or the fund group. That makes sense? Does that make sense is often something I'll add to the end of a conversational prompt like this, because it usually gets it to repeat back to me what it's planning to do. That makes sense. The fund group is the fund from the user's perspective. Individual obligation funding status is noise, and what matters is the aggregate. How funded is this fund overall? What is the per cycle contribution needed to keep it healthy? Yes. Should the individual per obligation fund balance still be tracked internally for engine accuracy, which is hidden from the UI? Yes. Or should we move the balance concept entirely from the fund to the fund group level, one balance per fund? It can be per obligation. The engine still tracks balances per obligation behind the scenes. UI only shows the sum at the fund group level. Contributions adjustments still target individual obligations. Or one fund balance per group instead of per obligation. Contributions go to the fund as a whole. Simpler model, but loses per obligation tracking. I think we need to chat about this. So we want to track the fund goal for the fund group, but it's still important to have each obligation know its own future projection of how much and how often will be taken out. But we won't even have the concept of funding an obligation in the UI, or how we communicate this to the user. So perhaps we need a target and current balance in the fund group, but this would need to either be calculated in real time based on the obligations it contains, or have its values updated whenever obligations in the group change. Add, remove, change value, change how often it happens, cadence, etc. Maybe it's simpler to calculate future projection in real time. but store the fund balance in the fund group, because this will reflect what the user has in an actual bank account. And then the percentage can be calculated based on the fund group balance in relation to the calculated future projection of the group obligations in aggregate, and based on a projection of future contributions to that fund group. So we need to model contributions per fund group, not per user. I don't think we captured that before. Clear and well thought out model. Let me make sure I have it right. The fund group stores a real balance, what a user actually sets aside in the bank account. Has set aside in the bank account, yes. The target is calculated in real time by aggregating future projections of all obligations in the group. Yes. Contributions go to the fund group, not the individual obligation. Yes. Health percent is the fund group balance divided by the calculated target. Yes. Per obligation fund balance goes away as a concept, correct? Obligations just describe what's going out. The fund group describes what's set aside. Yes. The engine still projects per obligation amounts and timing, but that's purely for aggregate calculation. Correct. This changes the plan substantially. It sure does. Sorry about that. Have you done so? Oh no, we just added something there. Again, it says a significant shift, but I have great faith that is going to be able to make short work of this. And by short work, I mean probably 5-10 minutes. The plan is updated. Is it though? Oh, your plan is updated. I read this and then went straight into that. User also wants me to create an amendment spec. Let me first check which existing specs are affected. I have a complete picture of the affected specs. Since specs 4, 7, 8, and 13 and 14 all have completed tasks in the implementation plan, I need to create an amendment rework spec rather than editing the originals. Thank you for reading the Claude MD instructions. That is a lot to change. Do it. Alright, so it's going to create a whole load of tasks to track. Going to create a migration for the fund group. Update the sign up and end-to-end setup for default fund group. Nice. Update the engine with fund group aggregation. Rewrite contribution and balance APIs for fund groups. Update the fund group and obligation APIs. Update all front-end components of fund groups. And update tests for fund group rework. Is that all? First, let me update the schema. So we are adding in okay, so fund group ID is now required. We are adding the fund balance is now presumably in the fund. Let's move to somewhere else. Fund group has a balance. Makes sense to me. There you go. So we got is default current balance and created after the fund group. We are removing fund balance and contributions from the fund from the obligation. Yep, that makes sense because it doesn't have. The obligation is no longer a fund. Before it was treating the obligation as a fund. So we don't have the fund balance even defined anymore, so I just stored inside the fund group. We're going to make sure there's a default group. Its default current balance is 1,000. I'm not sure why. Weird. Does it tell us? Weird. So in the setup, it's going to create a default with 1,000, but then in the sign up, it was going to create a default with 0. Hang on a minute. Let's undo that, because that might have been global setup script for tests. E2 setup default fund balance should be 0. Let me check what it's set to. Looks like I've already fixed it, or is it already set to 0? Okay, so have I just broken something? We create a user with a current fund balance of 1,000. Current balance should be. And we create a group of 1,000, and then. Here's me reading it thinking, I don't know why I did that, and I should, rather than thinking I did something wrong, I probably should have just double checked to make sure that I wasn't misreading things, which obviously I was. Ridiculous. My own worst enemy. Well, I've set it back to 1, to 1,000. I guess we see if it breaks. It's my bad. It's already set to 0 in my code anyway. That's current balance 0 for the default fund group. Continuing. I need to update the engine snapshot model to include the next action fund group ID. Next action. Okay, so we're assigning next action to a fund group. So part of me thinks we probably shouldn't have called them fund groups, because they're just funds now. Let me update all the API routes that reference fund balances. I'll work on multiple files in parallel. First, let me create a helper function. Sure. Look, it's already, in terms of tick numbers, halfway through. And this is a significant rework, so I'm loving the refactoring speed that I get from changing my minds. I would have spent so much time perfectly architecting things in the past, and while I think that the future is now good specifications and being able to communicate with agents to develop software, one of the things I really find is that it also allows us to not get locked into architectural decisions. When I first did the specs 5 days ago, the specs we came up with seemed sensible. There was a lot of conversation. It was 2 hours of chatting with Claude to try and develop the specs, and we came up with something pretty rigorous. Obviously, nothing is going to survive actual development processes. You will code yourself into a corner, which is why agile development technology or development philosophies have taken off, because it does give you that agility to change things quickly. Over the software development lifecycle, the waterfall development lifecycle. But one of the things with waterfall is that you would make these big architectural decisions and you would implement, and if you wanted to change anything, it was back to the drawing board. Whereas here, yes, we are kind of going back to the drawing board. We're going back to some of those initial decisions, but also we're not in a situation where we're locked into that architectural decision that doesn't. It's not going to take us weeks to change. We don't have to start from scratch. It's going to take us 10 minutes while I waffle on. We change our mind, and rather thinking, you know what, it's going to be a lot of implementation to get there. Is there a workaround we can use for now until we get to the point where we can take the time to do a re-implementation or a massive refactor? Just refactor as you go. I wonder if this will bring an end to big refactors. Alrighty, back onto it. Just compacted the context a little. Now hopefully you can run through and do... We're up to 85%. Given the speed at which we're increasing percentage by percentage, I think I'm going to be fine until tomorrow. We're only 20% through our 5 hours, and that resets in an hour and 13. Easy. Deleting the old fund balances, routes, and tests. Yeah, I mean, just looking at this, it's simple at the moment, adding a couple of attributes here and there, moving stuff around, removing parts, but finding the right parts to remove, that's just where this is excelling. It's actually, I love the Ralph loop for being able to send it off to do 5 hours of development and then coming back and you're in a good place where you can then continue. It's a great time saver for sure, but I do enjoy watching the diffs coming through and seeing how it's changing things. I guess to a certain extent, it's a way that I can still be connected to the code, even if I don't need to write it myself. Fix the suggestion route. What was wrong with it? Oh, it needs a group ID, I guess. Oh, converting from a suggestion into... Yeah, I guess. Task 5 is done. Oh, task 6 is... Oh no, that was 5. Updating all the front-end components for the fund groups. I'm assuming it captured that little bit where I said I would like it to be on the top right-hand corner. I assume that we're not going to be able to see anything, really. Any changes. Actually, we should have in settings, maybe. How, no, we don't have any... Oh, it's working on the front-end stuff now. The API's in. I feel like we need to, excuse me, restructure this slightly. It looks very long and narrow. That's cool. So if we put it on auto detect, does it use the recommended? Optional cap on how much to set aside each cycle. Leave empty for no limit. Is that something... I seem to remember I had to provide one during onboarding. We'll go through the onboarding again and we'll start doing some micromanagement on this rather than looking at the bigger picture. Or just go in and just tweak one thing at a time and just get it all working perfectly. While the testation work, let me start on task 6, updating the front-end components, remaining front-end files. Have a complete picture, let me start making the front-end changes. Contribution modal, change from obligation ID to fund group ID. We probably don't need record contribution anymore either. I wonder whether it'll get rid of that. I would imagine it would. Excuse me. Oh, it's very broken. It's funny that it says recurring. Is there any kind of obligation that isn't recurring? Is that the whole point of this? Update the hero card action. There we go, so it's getting the list of things. It's going to be exciting. Update the contribution modal and catch-up modal usages at the bottom of the page. Remove get fund status color and simply group by fund group. Something went wrong. Sure did. We get rid of it has, so we don't have the contribution there anymore. I feel like these can probably be right aligned, or maybe top right or something. So what if it's $2? Well, dashboard isn't working, but I need to be able to cancel to reset. Can I go negative? Negative. I need to be able to cancel what if. I think that cancels the what if. But also, why is that then enabled? I don't understand the user interface here. We will ask questions later. How are you doing? The engine test agent is done. All 163 test pages. The API root test agent is still working. The engine test agent already confirmed all the engine tests pass. The production code has 0 type errors. Let me wait for the API root test agent to finish, then run a full type check and test suite. Okay. I think that's reasonable. Currently run a by test on all those tests there. I think I might need to stop for dinner soon. It's become a long stream. What are we? Almost 2.5 hours already. Let me I'm going to switch to this view for a second so I can open Signal and just in case it appears on my main screen. It did not. So we can come back to this. Just need to check everything in the house is fine. Check nobody's complaining about me not being ready for making dinner. Not there's complaints, but you know what I mean. I want to be present for my family too. I have 9 front-end tests to update. Let me launch 2 parallel agents to handle them, 1 for dashboard tests and 1 for obligation tests. So did something go wrong? Test completed, all passed. I guess we're creating new tests for the work that we've done. Both agents are running in the background updating the test files. Let me check if there are any other test files outside the dashboard obligation directories that might need updating. All references are in test files. Let's check this. Something else being handled. There are some files outside the dashboard obligations test directory that still reference fund balance. So we're going to check which ones they are. I guess they're probably documentation things, maybe? The only remaining references are in the test files and obligation test files already being handled by the 2 background agents. Alright. Getting pretty close on this. I'm probably just going to call it for now, and I'll be back after dinner, because like I said, my goal is to finish this before the end of tonight. So I could be running late into the evening, not late for the hackathon, but I might choose to run into the evening and just get this done. But I shall be back. Where's my end scene? Yeah, there we go. I'm going to call it for now. I'll be back in probably about an hour or so. Alright, love you all. See you soon.